Very nice to see so many of you here. Thank you for Steel Games for inviting me as a speaker. Or Steel Media, sorry. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. My name is Kati Kärkkäinen. I'm 30 years old. I'm a producer and also a visual artisan. I do some streaming as well. I'm also a competitive gamer for 9th Sanguine Tigers in Mech Warrior Online, and also I play in Renegade Squadron in Star Citizen. I've been playing competitively now for almost 2 years total. But I think some could say, but you're a girl. Women don't like big stompy robots or space simulators or first-person shooters. It's a very common assumption. And if you were expecting me to talk about harassment against women in eSports, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's still a very important topic, but I have a different kind of story for you today. I want to tell you about the support I've got towards my eSports journey, and to hopefully encourage some others to join the arenas as well. I started Mech Warrior Online 1.5 years ago. My boyfriend had been playing the game competitively for almost, well, I guess 5 years. I enjoyed watching him play and compete. I actually fell asleep often to the sound of lasers and ballistic autocannons and gauss rifles. And I got to know the voices of 9th Sanguine Tigers really well, already through voice comms. After a year of that, I finally did the tutorial on the game. And on the same session, I actually played my first ever game with 9STS. A month later, they took me in their B team because they needed more players. I had been playing for 3 months before I started my competitive play at first. And the first time was in Mech Warrior Online World Championships. I took it all very seriously. My boyfriend even made me flashcards of the enemy mechs so I could recognize them better to provide better scouting info for my team. Well, obviously you can imagine that I was very nervous, but the encouragement and the constructive criticism that I got from my teammates really helped me overcome some of that. Well, the battle with my own mind seemed to be the biggest challenge for me. Have I really got the skills to compete after just a few months of gaming? Well, what if I fail and let my team down? How would they treat me after? What can I do really to relieve myself of these fears? I ended up creating this Word document of all the great comments that I got. Sometimes when I had failed, I reminded myself of all these good comments to get over the anger that I felt towards myself because of failing, and just to keep on practicing as well. I want to point out some things I think might be the reasons to why women are still not a common sight in eSports. Some of it goes far beyond the harassment of any individual gamer. Even though that surely is one of the reasons why women decide not to take part in competitive gaming. I think the reasons are also partly cultural and built into our upbringing and environment. There was actually this one video that really got me thinking of this topic. It was about some tech store guys that were trying on a headset. and they were asking a female coworker to give it a try. At first, she was really hesitant to try it on, and she was like, nah, I don't know, I'm probably really bad at it, but decided to give it a go anyways. Well, you can imagine the colleagues were pretty surprised when she started cursing and shouting like die, die, die to the opponents in the game and got all immersed in the gaming experience. And she was obviously enjoying it a great deal. The thing that I think made that specific video funny was the fact that women are usually not perceived as aggressive. And seeing behavior like that can be something people aren't really expecting. This attitude goes back far into our cultural values and characteristics and traits we perceive being gender-based. According to this article that was published in New York Times, some behavioral scientists say that such traits are actually heavily influenced by the child's social learning. According to Dr. Maccabee, due to testosterone, there is a biological basis for the expression of traits such as aggressiveness. However, assertive and competitive behaviors are not directly connected to gender. If women are less competitive or less aggressive, what they have learned is acceptable behavior from family, other adults, and peers is of great importance. And also especially write this bit here. While boys can be taught that aggression is not always a bad thing, Dr. Kaplan says that girls are taught to suppress aggression because of their role in child rearing. Well, as I said, women are still not a frequent sight in eSports. I was trying to figure out some reasons for this. I think some of the reasons might be that women don't embrace their competitiveness and aggressiveness as they don't consider them as typical female traits. There could be some fear to fail, fear of losing face, and the fear of showing sensitivity within the gaming community where expressing vulnerability is uncommon. Individuals react based on how they perceive competitiveness and aggressiveness that are typically considered masculine traits. That can sometimes lead to toxicity as well, that alienates some women. As you can see here in this research done by Bien, Leslie, and Symbian in 2016, perceiving some traits as gender-based might affect our choice of games as well, or the play styles we might prefer. The study observed children's gendered beliefs about brilliance and its effect on their interests. Both genders were equally represented in the study. The children were told of 2 games, one said to be for children who are really, really smart, and the other one for children who try really, really hard. Well, the results were kind of surprising to me. Girls were less interested than boys in the game for smart children, but preferred the game for hardworking children. One should really analyze why we choose certain types of games. Could it be that you gravitate towards the games that have been marketed to your gender? Or are the reasons cultural? You really shouldn't let a bit of a steeper learning curve scare you away from games either. That's actually where the sense of accomplishment lies, in learning and in succeeding. The 2 games I play competitively are games that harbor a lot of ex-military guys, war veterans, and actual fighter pilots. Many games that I play are on average very male-dominated. Well, some could ask, how am I dealing with that? The answer is by being myself. No special treatment. I just want to be treated as equal. There were still those people who assumed that I got the spot in the team by having a relationship with one of the members. I told them they could achieve just the same by attending practice and showing their skills in the duels. I was training 4 days a week, and on top of that, some extra training sessions to earn me the spot in Team A. It took a lot of hard work for me to get to where I'm at. There are always people who want to believe the reason that they're not advancing is something external. One of the first things I decided on was that I would ask advice from more skilled players than me, so I could keep on developing in the game. I was constantly asking what I could do better. Here you can see some traits that are commonly seen in successful career women, according to Business Insider 2015. These women are not just born with these traits, they can also be learned by anyone who wants to get to the top, whether it's at work or in gaming. They found 6 personality traits that were associated with higher performance ratings: assertiveness, aggressiveness, empathy, ego strength, stress tolerance, and energy. Also, resilience and being able to handle stressful situations. I remember my first ever competitive match. My hands were shaking, my heart was thumping. I could barely hit the buttons that I was supposed to push. You can imagine that, like the rush of that moment. All of these traits really apply for eSports, but also as general advice in life, whether it's upbringing of children or something else. Well, what does this really mean for those women in eSports? Understanding where these stereotypes, challenges, and assumptions stem from helps overcome them. You should really think about what makes you choose a certain type of a game, as I said. How about picking one you wouldn't normally choose? You might get surprised. Train hard, prove your skill in a male-dominated field. Although it is unfair, sometimes women must put in more effort to actually convince others of their skill. But you shouldn't give up. Here's my advice for people interested in playing eSports. First thing, set goals. What are you aiming for with your practice? Play against more skilled players and ask what you could do better. If you ever get angry, use the anger as fuel for learning and get over your ego. I know that can be hard at times when you get bad comments from somebody or whatever, but it's something that really drags you down in the long run when you're trying to learn. Find a team that has a supportive atmosphere. I can't even count the times that somebody told me that, "Don't worry, you were doing great." That actually takes you quite far. Don't let nasty comments bring you down. Just focus on the positive. You could do the same as I did. Just create a Word document or whatever it is that makes you feel confident in your gaming. Do the research, watch, and learn. As we heard in some of the previous presentations as well, watching videos of high skill level gameplay could be useful, because you can see what you are doing wrong or what could you improve on. There is really just one more thing I want to say. When men and women finally reach equilibrium, we might just discover untold synergies in playing together. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Kati. That's fantastic. Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? I think we've got a time for certainly for a couple of questions from the audience today, if there are any. Oh, there we go, Vera. I'll come down.
Hi, thanks for the talk. Do you have any general understanding of where female esports is going, like, altogether? Do you know if there's any effort in organizations to start or kickstart these all women teams, or are the leagues that were currently, it's mainly just males playing together, are those leagues, do they have any efforts into bringing more diversity into the leagues in forms of recruiting women or things like this? If you have any general knowledge, it would be cool to hear.
I don't have actual knowledge of that, but I know that there have been more all-women tournaments. And I think that is something that we really need to think about, like what can we do as a community as well to support those women also get into the mixed tournaments with men to play, because I think when if you think about women and their role in like FPS games or whatever, I think most of the women might get into those FPS games later on in life, I mean like older than some of the male, and that could actually affect their skill level as well somewhat. So I think it's an important step to encourage more women to get into those esports and those tournaments, whether it's all female or not. But I think you should definitely aim for getting those mixed tournaments and not just the all-female.
Thank you. Any further questions for Kati here? Oh, I'll come straight back there. Thank you.
Does your esports persona Meerkat have like a different personality than Kati yourself?
Well, in a sense, just slightly though. I think what is different is that when I'm dealing with those military guys or whatever, sometimes I get some hazing and I might have to say some harsh stuff back in order to reach the balance. But otherwise, pretty much the same.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We probably still have a minute or two if there's one final question, maybe. No, any more for any more? I have a question, actually, just that regardless of gender, I noticed that one of the things you pointed out was you went very quickly from playing the game for the first time, comparatively quickly, it seems to me, to being in the A-team and playing competitively. How it seems, was that purely down to the amount of effort you put into it? It seems like you were training the amount of hours like a professional athlete trains for a competitive sport. So my question is that unusual for someone to go so quickly from being a beginner to being in a professional team? And what advice do you have for someone who wants to get into a game?
Well, I think for me it was easier because my boyfriend had already been playing the game competitively for years, and I actually was also playing the same mech weight class as him. So it was easy for him to teach me the competitive thought process behind those tactical moves. So it was kind of expedited in a sense. And I think the best way still for anyone who is interested in is just talking to people who are more skilled and learning from them. You can always ask, find a mentor, find a team member that knows better, ask. I think that's the best advice for that.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause, please.
Thank you.